What mistake should have killed you? One time when I was young and carefree, I was riding a motorcycle for maybe the second time, like 30 miles per hour, and just had some wires in my brain misfire. I was like, I wonder what would happen if I crossed my arms and held the left handlebar with my right hand, the right with my left. I'll tell you what happened. I just narrowly missed oncoming traffic and smacked right into a wall. Did that on a bike when I was young. After reading your comment, I am happy it was just a bike. I stumbled through a bush which had a 1-meter drop after it where I fell down. I landed on my back at the only place down there which didn't have a iron pole sticking out of the ground. When I was in high school, me and a few friends all lied to our parents and told them we were spending the night at each other's houses. What we had really done was backpacked up a snowy Idaho mountain in the middle of winter without telling anyone where we were going. We were all fairly inexperienced in winter backpacking. The friend in charge of bringing food brought chicken he'd cooked at home so we could eat it cold in case we couldn't start a fire. Luckily I'd brought a can of chili and didn't partake in the chicken. I woke up the following morning to a fresh foot of snow and my friends vomiting out of the tent. We'd left our boots outside and they were completely frozen through. The shoelaces of my boot were pointing up and out and had zero bend. Me and one other friend were not sick and had to pack up the tent. The most freezing cold work I've ever done. I gave one of my sick friends my gloves because he couldn't find his. We were about 3 miles into the hike and the trail we'd taken in was totally covered and none of us were familiar with it enough to know it by memory. I took all but one pack and ran down trail to the car, making my best guess on which way to turn and marking those choices with ski poles. Got to the car, started it up to get it warm and to check if we had cell reception. We didn't. And then I ran back up trail to where they were and we carried them back to the car. I got home and felt like total garbage. My entire body was on fire from the cold and the soreness. I felt freezing to my bones and when I got home I started puking and was pastel white and sickly looking. My dad was pissed at me because I was hungover and I opted for that punishment rather than the insane fury it would have caused if he knew why I was actually in my condition. Retensioning a garage door spring and the tension tool popped out. The door crashed with enough force to crack the pavement. Holy fuck. Those springs hold like 10 megatons of energy. The cops would have been scraping you off the walls with spatulas. Morbid fact, if someone dies, murder, suicide, natural death or a freak accident, in your house, law enforcement and forensics don't clean up your house. Once they collect the information they need, their job is done. The owner either pays a private crime scene cleanup crew who will throw away contaminated items and sanitizes the area, or the owner will have to get a soapy bucket and clean it up themselves. I remember organizing my room when I was 10 or so. I had a lava lamp on the verge of falling off my cabinet. I didn't notice until I heard a loud shatter on my floor. For some reason my brain thought it would be a good idea to pick up all the shards. I jabbed my foot with a huge piece of glass and passed out from the pain. Woke up in a hospital bed thinking it and realized the shard was gone from my foot, was stitched back up, and getting relieved looks from my family. Turns out when I passed out, I hit my head on the cement floor. I was living in my parents' basement. And cracked my skull partially open and was bleeding profusely. I got taken to the hospital. My family thought I was dead. Proof that cleaning your room is dangerous and should never be attempted except by trained professionals. Taking on a plus 70 hours a week job just for the money. I hated the job, I hated my boss and I hated myself. I could not look myself in the mirror anymore. I was this close to a heart attack, gained 60 kilograms and could hardly sleep, but every month plus 12k on the bank account made me get up again and again. My wife said either you quit or I walk. Really saved my life. Your wife did you a solid there. No job is worth killing yourself over. Dove into a pool and broke my neck at the sea-to level. Hangman fracture it's called. I was so drunk I thought I just pulled a muscle or something, so I kept partying. There's pictures of me with a bag of frozen peas on my neck grilling, taking a shot from an ice luge, etc. all while my fucking neck was broken once the disc popped out because I was playing chicken with someone on my shoulders in the same pool hours later. That's when I realized that maybe something was wrong. 1 emergency spinal fusion surgery, 5 days in the hospital, 3 months bedridden, medical discharge from the army, RIP that career, and I'm good as new. I totally should be dead or paralyzed. Your luck is done. Don't even cross the road where there's not a walk signal. Pissing off a cliff, wasted on Jack Daniels. My girlfriend at the time pulled me back by my sweatshirt, or that would have been it. There's a book called Death in the Grand Canyon about all the ways people have died there. Peeing off the edge is up there in the most common ways to die. Not wearing a helmet while on a bicycle and stupidly turning left just as a car overtook me. Somehow I only got a neat scar through my eyebrow and some torn up kneecaps from it. But the look on my mother's face when she picked me up from the hospital, that made me realize how profoundly stupid I was that day. When I was a kid during grad school, my mom told me to meet her at a local park because we were going to have picnic with family. I just got my first phone, a Nokia. This will be relevant later. Anyway, I got to the park around 30 minutes early, so I sat down on a bench, so I just sat and played Snake on my phone. Then this guy approaches me. He asked if I was a local. My city is known to be a tourist destination. I said yes, and then he asked if I knew the way to a local tourist spot. Now I was young and naive, and despite being taught about stranger danger, I was eager to help a tourist find his way. I told him yes, I knew the way. Then he asked if I could bring him there. Again, being a young dumbass, I agreed. Now there are a lot of ways to go to this tourist spot, but this dude asked if we could pass by a certain way because he said he wanted to go to his hotel and get a Game Boy and give it to me because I was such a helpful dumbass child. I never owned a console, so I got excited and told him sure. On the way he talked about all the children he has given a Game Boy to and how many he had made happy. I felt at the time that this guy was legit and that he actually just liked making kids happy. He even gave me 100 pesos, around $2, because I was being so helpful. Once we got to the vicinity of the hotel, we stopped and he said that he had to make a call. Once he was done, he said that his roommate left and he had no key, so we just had to go to the original destination because that's where the Game Boy was. I was like, okay. I mean, I had time to kill, so there was no problem with me. Now the thing is, from the park there are a lot of multiple routes we could have gone through to get to this destination because the park is in the center of the city. Now though, the fastest way was through a road that had fewer people and traveled through by less cars. This didn't raise any red flags for me because I was a fucking dumbass. So I told him the fastest way was through that secluded road. He seemed like a pretty okay guy and we just conversed along the way. When we were about 1/4 through that secluded road, my mom called. She asked where I was and I answered that I was trying to just help a tourist get to his destination and I was at the secluded road. My mom started freaking out and telling me to go. I never heard my mom that panicked and mad, so I told the guy sorry and just ran. He didn't chase after me, but he just stared at me while I ran away. I met up with my family. Mom got mad at me for going with a stranger. Had picnic, all was good. When we got our weekly paper, I was excited to check the Sunday comics. So I grabbed the paper, but on the front page of the paper was a report about some group nabbing children for organ harvesting. To be honest, I never connected the dots till I was high school. TL. Doctor tried to help a lost tourist. He gave me money and almost got kidnapped for my organs to be harvested. Being a young, insecure boy on a motorcycle. When little Timmy bought a bike, he rode it to and fro. He rode it when and how he'd like, and where he chose to go. He rode it fast, and rode it far, and rode it mile on mile, and when he passed a lowly car, he'd pump his fist and smile. He rode his bike, and rode the breeze. He rode with hope and pride. But Tim was young, and too at ease. And Timmy fucking died. He undertook to overtake. The road was at a bend. From now on, the Undertaker is his only friend. Burma shave. As teenagers, we used to smoke pot in the garage in the car with it running for hours. No idea how we didn't kill everyone in the house multiple times over. Why the running car? Too hot with the windows up, was our thinking at the time. Windows down and everyone would smell us. We needed AC. They still smelled you. Without a doubt. Carrying a toilet by myself after having painted the bathroom. Got caught up in the drop cloth and fell on the toilet, smashing it, and a piece of the porcelain cut into my knee. My father was there with me and immediately took me to the hospital as the bleeding was pretty decent. The doctor told me that the piece missed an artery by 1/4 and that if I had been a smaller man I'd have bled out before I made it to the hospital. Being a very large man, 6 feet 2 inches and 350 pounds at the time, saved my life.